So let's get into this discussion of who had the better career, 50 Cent or Jay-Z. Whose career would you choose? Tony Yayo appeared, and Uncle Murda later on appeared on, I believe what the podcast name is. It's with Andrew Schultz. Let me see. Flagrant podcast with Andrew Schultz. And basically he was, I don't know how I forget how the conversation got to this, but he was like, hey, Tony Yayo was like, I would choose 50 Cent's career over Jay-Z. And of course, Tony Yayo was going to say that. 50's his guy. He's part of G-Unit. Makes sense. But the reasoning for why is, one, Yayo was like 50 was Tupac's reincarnation. Andrew Schultz actually did a good job. He said basically 50's crossed over to different boundaries, and he actually said this, but it kind of got like overswept because of all the conversations on the podcast. Sometimes people talk over each other, and these points get like quickly washed because of all the conversation. But
easy, and you just a 50. You might just be a 50 hater. And it's
No. We all love 50.
Now look. Look, he said he'd rather have Jay's career over 50, right?
Yeah, me personally, no, but yeah.
Listen, Jay's presentation is good. I think 50 always has the best presentation in hip hop. And what I'm saying is Jay will do a deal, and we can look it up. Remember when he had the album with Samsung, and they bought 1 million copies before he even dropped?
That's a fire.
He always found a way to
Jay's
win.
Brilliant.
Yeah. He always found a way to win. When he had his percentage in the Barclays, he used that. He had a good presentation. But when 50 Cent dropped, it felt like Tupac came back from the dead.
Yes, but no
disrespect.
No disrespect.
No. And look, because let's keep it real.
Bring the hammer down.
Jay is smart enough. You gotta let me finish.
All right.
Jay is smart enough to stand next to the fire.
Yes.
That's what
Kanye album,
Yeah.
R. Kelly album, R. Kelly album.
Let me talk.
R. Kelly
Who
album.
was on Jay-Z? Look, when did 50 tour with Jay-Z? Look it up. I was in jail. Because he was standing next to the fire.
That's smart.
Jay admitted it.
That's smart.
50 had the most hate. Niggas didn't need to stand next to the fire to heat up. That's all niggas do. And it's 20 years later, and we're still doing 103 shows.
Yes, but when I say
103 shows, still doing, got 40 films coming out.
Jay never had the
and I'm not glazing, I'm just telling you.
Another point that Schultz made that was really, really good is that Jay never had a stranglehold on the music, meaning he wasn't that like, there wasn't a moment in Jay-Z's, and this has been discussed millions of times, where Jay-Z was that guy. Like nobody was competing with Jay. Jay was the top guy. The only year you could argue that is 2009. And that is legitimately 13 years after, he made his first debut album, Reasonable Doubt, in 1996. It took him 13 years to have like that moment. And that was in 2009. I will potentially give him 2009. Eminem's Return was in 2009. He had a great year that year. Won a Grammy for Crack a Bottle, won a Grammy for Relapse, so on and so forth. Jay-Z had that good stranglehold because of the Empire State of Mind record with Alicia Keys. But other than that, never dominated. 50 Cent dominated. I'm talking dominated by a long shot. We're not even it's nowhere near. It's like 50 was here and everybody else was down here. Even Eminem wasn't doing that time. When 50 was running things, Eminem wasn't really, there with it, which is not a big deal because that's 50's guy, whatever. But 50 ran 2003 to 2006. 2007 is where, he had the battle with Kanye and didn't dominate. Kanye dominated that year. But from 2003 to 2006, those 3 years, 50 had the chokehold. Like, there was nobody doing the numbers that 50 was doing. Everybody on G-Unit was doing numbers like it was nothing. Everything G-Unit related, 50 Cent related, was flying off the shelves. His video game, 5 million copies off of a fucking video game, matching Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, matching these huge big budget games. Just on that, music, he was the fastest selling black artist in the history of music. He still is, which is crazy that he holds that title. The Massacre did 1,140,000 copies in 4 days. Nobody's ever matched that. If he had that full week, he probably would have done like 1.6, 1.7 million. I say all that to say 50's dominance, Jay-Z could never even touch. And like Yayo said in the clip, Jay-Z was standing next to the fire. And if you look right now, if you look at Jay-Z's streams, look at his songs, right? His top 5 songs, 4 of them, actually all 5 of them include somebody on the record, but 4 of them aren't even his records. They're somebody else's, which is insane. So people don't even think about that, mention that at all. So if you look at the top 5 Spotify stream records, The first one's Umbrella, Rihanna, standing next to the fire. Rihanna was getting hot at that moment. Did Jay-Z need to be on that record? No. Nobody gave a shit about Jay-Z's verse on that track. That would have been a hit with or without Jay-Z. Jay-Z was like, listen, I know this hit. I'm going to jump on that. I'm on Def Jam. I'm promoting Rihanna. Let me jump on this and stand next to the fire. Hopped on that Umbrella record. Didn't need him. Crazy in Love, Beyonce. Global superstar, bigger than Jay-Z. That's the second record that's on Jay-Z's top stream songs. The second track is Beyonce's. Then Hitters in Paris. That is Kanye West. That's all Kanye. Kanye is a bigger star than Jay-Z overseas. People don't want to admit it. People just gloss over that. But Kanye is a bigger artist, bigger star than Jay-Z ever was. That's just the reality of it. Kanye's way bigger. You know, now looking back, it made sense that 50 was versing Kanye because Kanye is a way bigger artist. Kanye had bigger first week sales, bigger overall sales on albums versus Jay-Z. The competition wasn't 50 versus Jay-Z. It was always 50 versus Kanye because Jay-Z couldn't hold a candle in sales to 50 or Kanye. They were outdoing Jay-Z like it was nothing. But that's the third record. The fourth is Jay-Z's song, and it's Empire State of Mind. And that's the record that in New York, when they play that record, do they play Jay-Z's verses? No, they play that Alicia Keys Golden Hook, which anybody could have made a hit record that was from New York. Nas could have made that a hit record. 50 could have made that a hit record. Diddy could have made that a hit record. Fucking anybody. Mims at that time. No disrespect to Mims. Mims could have hopped on that and would have made a hit record. So that is like a crap. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I assume that that Jay-Z didn't write that hook, that it was already crafted for him. I don't know about that. Maybe if Jay-Z wrote the hook, okay, then I give him props for that. But that was a record that Alicia Keys gave huge alley-oop to him. And it became this New York anthem. So that's the record. That's why I say in 2009 was probably the only year where you can give to Jay-Z where he was dominant. Like, he wasn't clear dominant, but he was dominant that year with that record. The album Blueprint 3 did well in sales. The only one that you could say is Eminem in 2009. You could say Drake with the buzz that he had in 2009. You could say Lil Wayne still. You know, you could say a few artists that year that dropped albums, but you could maybe give it to Jay-Z. And then the fifth track is Numb Encore, which is Linkin Park. Like, that's where the crossover, he's trying to cross over. Then you got Run This Town, Drunk in Love, another Beyonce record, No Church in the Wild, another Kanye record, Monster, another Kanye record, Holy Grail, which is a Jay-Z record, but still another Kanye record with Click, Drake record with Pound Cake. So he's got a lot of records that other people, you know, he's just featured on. So he's standing next to the fire like Yayo was talking about. But here's something that people don't mention and don't recognize because the years have gone on. But think about this. 50 had a late start in his career versus Jay-Z versus Diddy versus Nas, whoever. Jay-Z's career started in 96. 50 started in 2003. That's already a 7-year gap in career starting. I believe 7 years. With that being said, Jay-Z has a 7-year start. 50 starts in 2003. Drops his album Get Rich or Die Trying. Without even mentioning worldwide sales, just in America at the end of 2003, he did 6.5 million copies just in the United States of America. At that moment, just off that one album, he did all of Jay-Z's career in those 7 years. So he made up for all those 7 years that Jay-Z dropped, I believe, like, how many fucking albums did Jay-Z drop? Every year that guy was dropping. He dropped like 7 albums, and 50 did his whole career in one album in 2003. Then you do 2005. And then we're not even counting worldwide sales. So if we got into worldwide sales, the gap between 50 and Jay-Z at that time was ridiculous. Ridiculous. So you go to 2005, 50 does another 4.5 million by the end of 2005 with The Massacre. What's the numbers on that? That is 11 million total copies just in the United States of America. By 2005, Jay-Z had retired, had ducked the smoke, didn't want anything to do with the music industry. Black Album, I'm retired, I bow out. Because 50 is just that dominant during that time. So he did 11 million copies. By the time 2005 comes, he has basically doubled Jay-Z's career in sales in a span of 2 years. 2 years it took that guy to double Jay-Z's career in sales. You go to 2007, Curtis, by the end of 2007, I believe in the United States, did 1.8 million to 2 million. Jay-Z at the time had released Kingdom Come and American Gangsta, and Kingdom Come that was his best first week sales. I think he did like 680 680,000 first week or something like 640, somewhere around the 600,000. The best first week sales he ever did in his career. So that album probably went platinum that year because it was released towards the end of 2006. So maybe platinum around there, whatever. Let's just say it went platinum by 2007. Then he did American Gangster, which did all right as well. He added on probably another 1.5 million. So he probably matched Curtis in sales, but it took 50 one album to match. And that's 50's, a lot of eyes, 50's worst album. So he does, 50 does basically let's just say 1.5 million. I'm not going to give him 2 million. I'll give him 1.5 million. It took Jay-Z to do 2 albums to do 1.5 million. So 50, the gap with 50 versus Jay-Z having, by the way, like I said, Jay-Z had a 7-year head start. Like, why are people just ignoring that? A 7-year head start. 50 at that time, even financially, the gap was ridiculous. 50 had cracked the first hip-hop artist to do over $100 million in 1 year. He did $150 million, which was the numbers that was reported. But based on the percentages he owned of Vitamin Water, he did $400 million with that. But what was reported was he made $100 million plus the $50 million that year that he made. $150 million. The gap was insane financially. Then what happens in 2009, around that time, 50 has issues with his label, essentially goes through another blackballed type of thing. Because he had to deal with Yayo mentioned, he had to deal with getting blackballed in 2002. He had to create his own buzz to the point where Eminem, jumped in and, said, hey, sign with me. Let's get this ball rolling. I say all that to say, right, now as the years have gone on, Jay-Z has released a lot more albums, has done a lot more features, has stand next to the fire a lot more. A lot of his tours are with Beyonce, the numbers. If you look at the tours, they're with Beyonce. On the Run tour, On the Run 2 tour with Beyonce. A lot of his tours and stuff are connected to people. Jay-Z hasn't done anything solo-wise that has done insane numbers in a long, long time. 50 has proved it. He did the Final Lap tour, $105 million, 103 dates, basically $1 million a show, essentially, he was doing. So he did great numbers on that tour, and that's solely off of his music. He hadn't released anything new since 2014 as far as studio albums, so well over 11 years, and he's still doing numbers without having to stand next to a fire of somebody. This is solely off of 50's energy of what he's putting out there and what he's doing. Jay-Z has had to stand next to the fire, had to rub his hands and get warm through Kanye, through Rihanna, through R. Kelly at a certain point, through Linkin Park, through Beyonce. It took him to try to stand by himself. It was the 2009, but even Alicia Keys gave him that alley-oop. If you look at 50's top records, let's go to 50's top records. In the Club, his own record. Candy Shop, his own record. Hate It or Love It is up there. That's Game Records, but who gave that record? Who wrote that record? Who gave him that song? 50, so it's basically 50's record. PIMP, his record. 21 Questions, his record. That's the top 5. All of his songs. Besides the Game one, they both collaborated on, but we know that's 50's record. He had it, muted his vocals, gave it to Game, said, fuck. This is how hot 50 was. He just giving out hits like it was nothing. He was giving it to his artists. He didn't have to do that. But G-Unit was way bigger than Rockefeller ever could be. That's another thing, too. So as the years have gone on, I say all this to say 50 dominated. And he hasn't been musically. He just said, hey, I'm done with music. And we'll talk about that later. But he said, I'm done with music. He just bowed out. He doesn't care. Had he kept releasing albums, doing a new deal with Def Jam, which he was going to sign at the time, he would still be doing numbers. You guys don't think 50, look at that. He dropped the Kanan tape. And here's my proof, because people are going to say, oh, 50 can't do numbers, blah, blah, blah. He fell off, this and that. The Kanan tape, free fucking mixtape, produces a hit record that went double platinum. It was a free song. He just threw it out there. If you look at the YouTube views, that song has outperformed a lot of Jay-Z records that came out. So if you go from 2015, let's just say all the Jay-Z records that came out from 444, from all this, let's actually look at it. I'm curious. In streams, let's go to I'm the Man. Let's see where the streams on I'm the Man is. I'm genuinely curious. I'm the Man on Spotify has 286 million streams. That is a song that came out in 2015. So let's see where 286 million for Jay-Z is on streams. So Jay-Z's Hard Knock Life. Let's see a record that he dropped after 2015 or from 2015 and forward. Let's see if there's a record on here that he dropped that has more than 286 million streams that came out in 2015 or after. Let's just see. I see nothing right now. I'm going to be honest. So we got Otis, which is at 315 million. We got Suit and Tie, Justin Timberlake's record, 290 million. Hard Knock Life, 282 million. Gotta Have It, 278 million. 99 Problems. So let's just go to 444, his album that he dropped. So the 444 title track is at 211 million. So he's behind by roughly 70 million streams. His biggest record is behind 50's free mixtape record that wasn't on a major studio album, that didn't get any major studio album push, just a free record. G-Unit Records, independent. There's no label attached to the song. There's nothing. It's just straight 50 just dropping it. Did 286 million in streams. Jay-Z dropped it on a major album, label behind it, major whatever 13th, whatever fucking studio album that he has, and did 211 million. That just tells you the gap. If 50 actually gave a fuck about music, which I wish he did, if he actually put in the effort, he would easily have way more numbers, way more streams. If you look in the total streams, 50 actually has more streams as a solo artist, not as a feature, though. Jay-Z has a lot more as a feature because he was a lot more, on people's records and still is. So as a solo artist, 50 has 7.8 billion streams on Spotify as a solo, not as a feature. Jay-Z has 2.6 billion. That is 50 has nearly 3 times more features as a solo lead artist on a record. Actually, no, just as a solo. Sorry. For the lead thing, they're tied. So as a lead artist on the record, they're basically tied. Jay-Z's at 12.4 billion. 50's at 12.9 billion. So 50's beaten by 500 million streams. But total overall, with the features, with all this stuff, 50's at 18.9 billion. Jay-Z's at 23 billion. So Jay-Z beats him by like 4 billion. But as you can see, Rihanna's on there. These are pop stars that he's like fucking getting help from. So of course he's going to do more numbers. 50 didn't rely on pop stars to help him on records. But that's my point in all this is, when Yayo talks about this stuff, he could add in this stuff, but he made some good points of they had a head start. 50 caught up to that head start with one album. If we're talking worldwide sales, 50 washes Jay-Z. There's not even a competition. Worldwide, globally, 50's known more. 50's respected more. 50 proves it with the tours. 50 proves it with the numbers. Like, there is no debate on the worldwide. Yes, can Jay-Z go to the UK? Cool. The UK is basically a second America, like, in terms of, like, hip-hop. It's a second, like, extension. A lot of artists can go to the UK. You're not proving much if you go to the UK. If you can go to other countries, third world countries, countries that barely even tap into hip-hop like that, and you can do shows, and you can do a lot of money and do a lot of tours, you're good to go. But that's the debate with it. I would take 50's career. 50's had a huge dominance, remained relevant with that dominance, hasn't had to rely on really anything. Yes, did Eminem and Drake sign him and give him that push? Of course. But let's be honest here. It's 50's writing that got him those hit records. When the In the Club beat was there were artists that got sent that beat from Dr. Dre. They didn't know what the fuck to do with that beat. They had no idea. By the way, speaking of In the Club, 50 has a record that's forever going to stand the test of time within the club. Go Shawty, It's Your Birthday. Everybody plays that during their birthday. That's forever going to stand the test of time. Jay-Z doesn't have his own record that's forever going to stand the test of time. The only record is the Empire State of Mind, and that's mainly for New Yorkers and for people that like maybe travelers that come to New York, they probably play that record. It's one of those records like for America, it's going to stand the test of time. But for the world, most people don't give a shit. And I've traveled. I'm not the most traveled person ever, but I've been to Germany. I've been in my country. I've been to Mexico. I'm going to be traveling more. I don't really hear Jay-Z. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't. I'm not saying that as disrespectful or anything. I just don't hear Jay-Z like that. Do I hear certain records, maybe Big Pimpin'? I've heard. Certain records I do hear. But I just, let's see where Big Pimpin' is at. Let's just see. Big Pimpin'. This is such that big of a record that everybody's, oh my God, bro, this is such a huge impact. This song has 230 million streams, bro. Where is 50 Cent's 230 million streams? Let's see what record is 230, or at least close to it. You Don't, actually, wait, Never Enough, which is literally an Eminem record. That's off his Encore album. But Out of Control remix at 192 million. Or you can do Patiently Waiting, which is 286 million. These records that have like 230 or 200, they're like Eminem records and Ed Sheeran. So my point in all this is that 50 washes this guy in numbers by a long shot. But it's just 50's career, like longevity-wise, Jay-Z's been more like, if you like somebody who has like more of a consistent flow but doesn't dominate, you go with Jay-Z. If you want that type of career where you're like steady, consistent. But 50's had this crazy jump in his career musically, but he's also sustained his career outside of music as well. So to say that 50 fell off, yeah, musically he hasn't been, but he's still done numbers without even trying. He still does numbers. Without even trying, his music still does numbers. So I don't know if you quote that as falling off. Maybe recently hasn't done anything that's hidden, but neither has Jay-Z. Last Jay-Z album was 2017 as a solo. And then he did that Beyonce, whatever, collab album in 2018. That's it. He hasn't done shit else recently that's been relevant. 50's music has been more relevant recently than Jay-Z's. That's just the reality. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because if I ever talk to Tony Yayo, I definitely want to bring this up and kind of give him some extra ammunition when he talks about this stuff because he misses some points on it. But yeah, that's my take on the situation.